Our ATM, aren't you, Amy? I looked up at the screen, Mother's face slightly twisted with frustration. Brother Jason's hands braced on the table, eyes wide and tense. Sister Carol leaning casually against the sofa arm, but her eyebrows tightly knit as she watched me. Mom, I'm not joking. We really need you this month. Can you help with rent, utilities, and groceries? Jason's voice was sharp, almost pleading. I'll check the bills, I said calmly, keeping my hands on the keyboard, my fingers slightly tense. You're being stingy, Amy. We are family. Don't be so cold. Mother's voice carried warmth on the surface but had an edge that made my stomach tighten. I gripped the mouse harder, the skin around my knuckles whitening. I'll look at the bills, I repeated, carefully neutral. 3 years ago, I had moved into a small apartment downtown and started my first decent job. They began asking for money almost immediately. At first, I couldn't refuse. I sent money whenever they asked. I told myself it was family, that I was helping, that it was okay. But gradually I realized that my willingness was taken for granted. Each request became a test, each transfer a measure of my worth. I was no longer a daughter or a sister in their eyes. I was a source of cash, an ATM. Amy, didn't you forget the credit card again? Jason asked, leaning forward, his voice dripping irritation. Wouldn't it be faster if you handled it yourselves? I said coldly, leaning back in my chair, my eyes fixed on my computer screen. How stingy can you be? We literally rely on you for rent, utilities, and groceries. Mother's tone escalated slightly, but still soft enough to seem nurturing. I lowered my head, nodded silently, my lips pressed together. Last Christmas, a video message changed everything. Mother, Jason, Carol, and cousins were gathered in the living room, glasses raised. They laughed, calling me their personal ATM. The sound of their laughter froze in my stomach. My lunch sandwich sat untouched on the kitchen counter that day. 3 years of effort, sacrifice, and trust, all reduced to mockery in a 43-second clip. The next day, at the office, I opened my banking app. The transfers stared back at me like a ledger of my exhaustion. Parents, $1,200 monthly mortgage support. Jason, $800 temporary rent assistance. Carol, $500 children's tuition and expenses. Add in sporadic emergencies, medical bills, car repairs, and over 3 years, the total exceeded $95,000. Money I had intended for my own life, my own dreams. Buying a home, earning a master's degree, taking a vacation. I calmly closed my banking app. From that moment on, the ATM was off. The phone rang relentlessly. Mother, Jason, Carol, one after another. I didn't answer. I didn't reply to texts. At work, I continued my tasks, nodded in meetings, smiled at colleagues. Outwardly normal, inwardly frozen. Any compromise risked returning me to 3 years of being exploited. 3 months later, Jason showed up at my apartment. Disheveled, eyes frantic, hands twisting nervously. Amy, you can't do this. Mom's losing it. The landlord is threatening to evict me, he blurted. I studied him carefully, calm and deliberate. I understand your difficulties, Jason, but my boundaries are set. You're selfish. Family has problems and you just shut the door, he yelled, pacing the small living room. I smiled, a cold edge in the gesture. Your problems have never been my responsibility, he argued, voice rising. I described the Christmas video in detail. 43 seconds, laughter, glasses raised, mockery. 3 years of my sacrifices turned into a joke. Jason's face shifted from anger to shock, to fear. He realized, finally, that his entitlement had been exploitation all along. I started a methodical accounting. Every transfer, every loan, every sacrifice documented clearly. I sent calm, factual emails to Mother, Jason, and Carol. No apologies. No justifications. Just facts. This money will no longer be sent. Any emergency, you must handle yourselves. Initially, they tried manipulation, threats, guilt, pleading. You'll hurt us doing this. Mother's emails exploded in my inbox. I remained unmoved. Jason attempted to push his way into my apartment. I blocked him without raising my voice. Carol tried to guilt me through her children, expecting me to soften. I refused, insisting all conversations would occur away from them. Mother flooded my phone with frantic messages about father's medication. I checked the bills calmly. Cost is under $50 per month. Fully affordable from your own funds, I replied firmly. Months passed. Life changed. I moved into a new apartment. My salary went to my own interests, my hobbies, my investments. I traveled. I exercised. I joined a photography class. I finally felt the simple pleasure of being able to control my time. No guilt. No manipulation. They continued to reach out, but with caution. Mother eventually wrote a long handwritten letter. She admitted mistakes, acknowledged years of dependence and exploitation. We were wrong, Amy. We hope to rebuild a relationship, but only when you are ready. I responded briefly but firmly. I am no longer an ATM. I am your daughter. You must respect my choices. A year later, Christmas arrived. For the first time, I had no obligations to family. I decorated a small tree, invited friends over. The doorbell rang. A package arrived from the children of my family. I smiled, accepting it without guilt, feeling the warmth of my own independence. 3 years of sacrifice and endurance had yielded self-respect, freedom, and control over my own life. My calm, deliberate withdrawal from their demands had been my revenge, not destruction, but teaching them boundaries and respect. Those 43 seconds of video became a turning point. I learned that being loved should never require sacrificing yourself. That moment I felt true freedom, and I understood that the most precious kind of home is one where respect and acknowledgement of each other's worth exist, not endless extraction and exploitation. Months later, I even began planning my future, considering buying a home, continuing my education, and taking vacations I had postponed for years. Life finally felt mine. Each step I took was a reclamation of my time, energy, and dignity. The boundaries I had set were no longer a source of guilt. They were the foundation of my renewed life. Even when family reached out, pleading or attempting manipulation, I stayed grounded. Each text, call, or email was met with calm clarity. I realized that my power was not in retaliation, but in the decision to no longer allow abuse disguised as family obligation. I finally smiled during a holiday party with friends, my laughter free, unburdened. In that room, I recognized the truth. The past 3 years had forged a strength in me that nothing could take away. I was free. I was respected. I was no one's ATM.